Welcome to Onourshelf. Today what I have is a full review of the iPad Air. So just in case you missed my unboxing video earlier, here it is again in about 10 seconds. Basically what you get in the box is the iPad Air itself. We have the space gray model here, a lightning to USB cable, a USB power adapter, some quick start manuals, and you also get 2 Apple stickers. So let's start with the design. Right here we have our volume up and down buttons. Up next we have our silent and screen rotation lock toggle, sleep wake button, microphone, 3.5mm headphone jack. On the bottom of the tablet we have our speakers, and we also have our lightning connector input. On the back we have another microphone, and we also have a 5-megapixel camera. On the front we have our home button to wake the tablet, and up top we have our 1.2 megapixel front facing camera and our ambient light sensor and our proximity sensor. Now as far as the dimensions of this tablet goes, it has a height of 9.4 inches, a width of 6.6 inches, a depth of 0.29 of an inch, and it weighs approximately 1 pound. Now speaking of the size of the new iPad Air, this is the smallest full-size iPad that Apple has made to date, making it extremely portable, very easy to hold with just one hand. So when doing things like taking pictures, browsing the web, playing video games, it seems like a lot less of a chore now to hold this thing up for extended amounts of time than to deal with the previous generation iPads. When you get this thing in your hand for the first time, you will notice a significant difference in weight and size compared to the last iPads. And as far as last generation iPads go, I still have my first generation iPad, which originally came out in 2010. And as you can see, 3 years later, look how far they've come. Check out the size and dimension differences. If you look at the display below, it shows you a good demonstration of how the iPad Air is put together. Let's move on to the display. It features a Retina display with a 9.7-inch diagonal LED backlit multi-touch display with IPS technology with a resolution of 2048 by 1536 at 264 pixels per inch. To sum it up, the iPad Air still has one of the best looking displays out there on the market. It's great in low and bright light situations. And as far as watching movies, playing video games, browsing the web, or if you're like a photographer and you're going to use this to show your clients, to show them pictures that you've taken in the past, this tablet is great for that. Colors really pop out at you, the black levels are good, and I found that when viewing this thing kind of like at an off angle, so if there's 2 parties watching the same screen and neither of you are directly in front of the screen, you'll both still get a really good view of the display even though you're not directly in front of it. Okay, so now performance. This thing features an A7 chip with a 64-bit architecture and M7 motion coprocessor with 1 gig of RAM. Also a PowerVR G6430 GPU, which stands for Graphics Processing Unit, and a 1.4 GHz dual-core CPU, which stands for Central Processing Unit. What does all that mean? Basically, this is like the Lamborghini or McLaren of tablets. While multitasking and using some heavy processor-sipping apps, I had no problem at all. No stuttering, no freezing, and no crashing. Not saying that it won't crash, but within the past week that I've used it, it hasn't crashed not once. And really, there aren't too many apps that can take advantage of this processor yet, so I can't wait to see what's gonna come out within the next 6 to 8 months. It's gonna be awesome. And when browsing the web, it's also pretty snappy as well. It is of my belief that this is still the best tablet when it comes to browsing the web, which is something I've never denied. Web pages render extremely fast, I didn't experience any ghosting, and the touchscreen is just very responsive, which Apple does that really well. They've been doing that well for a while. There are some tablets out there that are really great, but when it comes to being responsive when you touch them, sometimes you have some issues. With the iPad Air, there are no issues, or they are very minimum at best. So here's a quick video of me just browsing some web pages, using pinch to zoom, playing some videos. Just take a quick look. Okay, so now let's talk about the camera. We'll start with the front-facing camera. It's a 1.2 megapixel camera and records up to 720p HD video, which basically means it's pretty good for taking selfies and making FaceTime calls, but that's pretty much it. Now the main camera on this tablet is the one on the back side, which is a 5 megapixel camera and it records up to 1080p HD video. Some of the features that it has is tap to focus, tap to control exposure, face detection, autofocus, and video stabilization. Here are some pictures that Jess took earlier with it. And here's a look at some video. And the last thing to talk about is battery life. Now it features a built-in 32.4 watt rechargeable lithium polymer battery. Now Apple claims you're going to get up to 10 hours of surfing the web on Wi-Fi, watching videos, or listening to music. Now me personally, I got about 12 hours of battery life doing those things. I'll watch a couple YouTube videos, browse the web, play some video games, and I still had about 3% battery life left. Now if you're a casual user and you use this thing maybe like 2 to 3 hours a day, you'll get more than a few days out of this. So to sum it all up, you can get this iPad in space gray or silver. Here's a list of the apps that are included right out of the box. And here's a look at the prices. The prices on the left are with Wi-Fi. The prices on the right are with Wi-Fi plus 3G. So in conclusion, I have nothing bad to say about this tablet at all. I mean, it could use Touch ID, but I'm pretty sure they're holding it off to the next iPad. The front-facing camera could be better, but that's the camera you rarely ever use at all. So that's nitpicking right there. Doesn't really matter. Oh, I do have one thing you could complain about if you want to complain about something. The design of iOS 7 apps. They all have this new flat look to them, and if you go into the App Store and look at some third-party apps, they don't all have that yet. So the apps kind of just don't match. So the theme isn't quite perfect yet. But I guess that's nitpicking too. So if you're in the market for a new tablet, I would say take a look at this for sure. This is definitely the one to get. This is the one that I would get if I was buying one right now. Also, the Galaxy Note 10.1 2014 edition, check that one out as well. And the Sony Xperia Tablet Z, that's the one that I currently still use, and I like it a lot. It's one of my favorites. I think it's kind of underrated, but it's one of my favorite tablets. So that's been a review of the iPad Air Space Gray 16GB model. Take care. See you guys in our next video, and thanks for watching.